Okay, so now what I'm going to show you is just a couple of clips. Might be just 2 clips here, JP.
Okay.
And at rule 1, I mean, for anyone that's might be listening, like at rule 1, the player is solving the problem. I guess we should have done this at the start just to be clear. At rule 2, at phase 2 of the rule of 3, players are scanning and challenging each other based on the success criteria. And then phase 3 of the rule of 3 is I'm now scanning everybody. They're not self-solving and their teammates are not intervening to give a positive outcome because they're not seeing it. Then I've got to step in and basically help them solve the problem. So here's an example of one of our import players. And I sometimes mix the sessions. So I'll mix the academy with the imports during the week for individual work-ons or small group workouts. But here's one of our imports. Challenging one of our academy guys. I don't know if you'll pick up what he says. So I'll just play it, JP, and see what you take out of this.
Mm.
He talk on the door screen for you when you got nailed on.
We're going 10 minutes.
Talk to Ross, and you got to talk to Ross so he can figure that out.
Did you take anything from that? Or did you pick up on anything in particular?
I was having a hard time hearing it, but could you actually run it back there? Because I kind of missed what he was saying there. I think I might catch there the second next time. Run it back.
It's real short. Anyway, it's about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
He talk on the door screen for you when you got nailed on.
We're going 10 minutes.
Talk to Ross, and you got to talk to Ross so he can figure that out.
He's saying to talk to someone because he's got to figure it out.
Yeah. So he asked him, the question he asked him was, did Ross talk to you about basically ball screen coverage? So something's happened in a defensive element of a ball screen. It wasn't what they planned for. He's clearly saying like, well, that's, you need to go talk to him. So what AJ could have done there was gave him the solution. Like he clearly knows because he's seen it. He had nothing to do with that aspect of play, but he's saying to him, right, did Ross talk to you about what the coverage was, for example? That player's obviously said no. So he's gone, well, you need to go talk to him now then and sort it out. So that's, for me, I really like that because like that approach, because AJ is more experienced than the others and he's not giving him the solution, but he's making him take responsibility to engage with a teammate and they sort it out, they solve it. Now he'd be quick to step in, knowing AJ, like, he's ready to go and he's sparky. So if they got it wrong again, he might get a little bit frustrated and I might have to manage him in a different way. But he's putting the responsibility to those guys. So that's a pretty good example of phase 2 of the rule of 3.
No, I think that's great. I think that's one where that so often a player would come in and just correct and say, hey, you got to be a harder hedge on that or this or that. But no, instead, you guys got to go talk and you guys got to figure that out. I love that.
And it's a bit like, that's actually an example of what I was saying to you earlier about your girls. Like, you have some ready for performance. You have some still at learning. Well, how can we still stretch those ones who are ready for performance without them getting bored? I turn them into coaches, but then to be honest, JP, I'll be sniping for them to get something wrong in the phase of play, just so I can keep them sharp with, well, your angle on that closeout, acceptable, unacceptable. I'll try to find something, even if it's not in the success criteria, because otherwise you end up losing them in the practice. I'll play one more here. Or maybe I've got 2 more here. I'll play. Let's see what comes up, Jay.
You have to drop to take the next rep. As he goes, he should be going. That happened twice already because he didn't have the drop. He came in, you should have seen that. Don't make the same mistake twice. Anything else?
The intent, especially on that box out, Maxwell was just got the ball, headed it back up straight.
Yeah, let's go next.
Can I share with you what I really like about that clip? It's not the kid, like, by the way, he shouldn't be wearing earrings, so that's one strike against me for not picking that up. But I really like this young man here. I really like his part to play in this. I think what David's doing is too easy for him. Like David's ahead of all these guys, like from a playing standpoint. And he's I've been coaching this kid since he's 10, like kind of using this system. So he's now like, he's not giving any answers in these interactions. He's questioning and sniping guys a lot because he's ahead of the rest. But there's the obvious things is like, you know, as he's talking, they give a hand touch after he finishes, you know, I mean, I won't play it with the sound on, but so he's asking him questions. He's challenging him. You can see this guy looks a little bit uncomfortable. But what cements it is that the hand touch after he finishes. And now this young man says, right, anything else? I really like this because he's keeping it important and he's keeping it sharp. Right, you guys are done. This is not a 3-minute conversation. It's a 10-second interaction. Anything else? And then this young man comes along and does something really positive. He actually acknowledges something that was good instead of telling somebody to do something better. And that's something I really have to redirect, JP. Like the guys, when they challenge each other and they use the rule of two, when they get to phase 2, the rule of 2, it's 90% of the time it's because they haven't done something good, you know. And I'm trying to get them to understand, like, there's a lot more power that comes from acknowledging somebody that does something well. You could, like, that's part of the rule of 3. That's a really important part for you to be acknowledging that. And that's what he does. And then the last phase of this I really like is, again, this young man says, I'll play it. And I've
got the ball, head it back up, straight.
Yeah, let's go next.
Let's go next. Right, we're out of here. We don't need to be having a convention, guys. We got the 2 points across. It's been 20 seconds. We're going. And I'm not like, I'm not stepping in there. I'm behind it. I'm probably wearing a GoPro here, which is capturing this. But I'm not stepping in doing that because I don't need to. They've got control of it.
And so here's my question. I love that because you nailed it as far as the positive takeaways there. Is that young man that kind of facilitated that in some small little ways? Was he designated? Was that organically did that happen? Like,
no, we've had to invest. To be honest, JP, he has been a real challenge, like a real challenge for me because he's thinking so more advanced. Like he plays on our senior team and is like, to be honest, he's pushing our imports like to justify why they get paid. You know, you're talking about a 17-year-old academy guy. He'll be a Division I college player for sure. But he's so advanced with how he thinks. And okay, I'll come back to what I'm about to say in a second. I'll answer your question. I've had to sit down with him a lot and say, David, your next stage of development in terms of your decision making is enhancing the decision making of others. You're a point guard. You know, I've had to give it to him in different ways. I've had to sit down and watch Kobe doing work just so he can hear all the Kobe talking and how he's challenging his teammates and stuff like that. He asked some really good questions in that series. So, because he wants to give the answer. He just wants to go. So he's been a real challenge for me to say, you know, David, slow down, be patient. What do they need? Who do they need you to be right now?
Yeah, but no, I love this because I think this is when I watch your stuff. I'm like, the dots connect to me. Like, I already know I have one player in particular that will dominate the player timeout. And other players are seeing things, and it's about working with her, having conversations about how can you get other players to contribute? Can you pull from other players? And can you do that in a way that's done within 30 seconds, 45 seconds, one minute, whatever you've been given for that timeout? Can you do that in the allotted time? I think that's a great clip though, of that young man just being able, he said really two things, but that kept that conversation moving and kind of just and got them out of it pretty quickly. So that was great.